after doing that.
I have a question.
Yes?
That may not be an answer, but why the non-dominant hand?
Why do you think?
So I'll use the side of my brain that's creative or something? I don't know. Or because it's more challenging?
What? Did you want to answer her question?
I had a theory about it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Are you finished with your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it have anything to do with, like, I'm thinking of like inner child psychology, if it's somehow supposed to represent some sort of connection from the inner child part of the self that lets out the emotions more easily or something.
I mean, that, you know, I haven't heard it phrased exactly that way, but I think that both of you are onto something about it. You know, it just takes you into a place where you're not going to be as judgmental and critical of what you're doing, because you can't be as perfect with your other hand. So it adds this element of just that this is really an exercise to get you out of yourself in a way and just see what comes through, rather than trying to make a perfect product. So I think that it could have implications like what you're talking about and what you're talking about. So did anybody else go out of the lines? That's why I specifically said quadrants in the beginning rather than circles. So I thought we would do some definitions just to give us an idea of what we're talking about. What is art? What is healing? So there are so many definitions, but I chose that art was anything generated with the intention of imaginative self-expression. And healing, I call a deep personal process through which a person attains or regains a sense of wholeness or wellness. So in preparation for this lecture, I read tons and tons of articles about all the different kinds of healing art therapies, and for the purposes of time, I really had to narrow it down. So I'm staying with visual art mostly for this topic, for this talk, but there's lots and lots and lots of kinds of art, you know, performance, gardening, cooking, songwriting, anything that feels like it's a creative outpouring of your being is included. So healing is an inner journey that can take place on an emotional, spiritual, or physical level, I'm supposed to say. People may heal without their physical body being cured of a disease. This is an important idea. Becoming whole, even through the vehicle of illness, is a magically precious gift. So this is just a little drawing I did with oil pastels like you have during an art therapy session I did with one of my mind-body skills groups in 2005 in Telluride. So I thought I'd give a little history of using art for healing. There's a lot out there about this, but I just thought I'd cover a few main points. So probably the first healing artists were mothers who, you know, from the beginning of human history used to sing and hum to their infants. Most likely original songs until songs started being shared and recorded, and then songs were shared and recorded. But mothers have always also sung original songs. And fathers used to make beds for their babies, and now they buy them, but you know, that's still their offering in a way. Tribal people were self-healers originally, when everybody used to be hunter-gatherers and the community was much more integrated and everybody shared roles together. People seemed to naturally know what they needed to do to heal themselves, and they had a lot of community rituals such as drumming, campfires, dancing, all-night sort of rituals that would help people connect to spirit and thus to their deeper sense of healing, and they would process what they needed to do in that way to feel like they had reached wholeness. Shaman evolved when societies became more agrarian, more agricultural, localized in one place. People started specializing, so they had people making baskets, people farming, people hunting, you know, all the different tasks. And the shaman were the people who stayed more connected to spirit and source, so they started to do that role for other people. And art started popping up, such as talismans, which were special mystical art objects that usually were visions seen when the shaman would go on their journeys and then they would come back and they'd make these art objects that then they could use to heal with other people. And also cave drawings were thought to represent early healing art because a lot of the images were of things seen in visions or things that, like buffalo, things that were hunted that they wanted to really connect with and merge with because the hunt was such a spiritual thing for early people. So a little more about rituals. Early form of healing performance art at community or social level. Use symbols and ceremonies to help people move through change with meaning. Gave a wholeness to the cycle of loss and gain, death and birth. Spiritual healing, nature, connection with God were all a part of ritual activity. So all the old cultures and most of the indigenous current cultures have lots of rituals, and so do we. Greek, Celtic, Egyptian, and every culture has rituals, myths, and symbols. One of my favorite was the story of Eleusis and the Eleusinian mysteries, and another is Halloween. The Eleusinian ritual was one of ancient Greece, and it had to do with the Persephone Demeter myth. I don't know if everyone knows about this, but it's just an interesting Greek myth about Demeter losing her daughter Persephone to Hades, who wanted to marry her and kidnapped her into the underworld. And through time in Greece, there was a reenactment of this myth, which they thought was supposed to help connect them to the gods, as well as perpetuate the positive fertility cycles of the land. So people got involved in sort of performing these rituals to try to help the land grow and also to try to connect themselves to the gods. And Halloween was originally a Celtic ritual to celebrate and mourn the dead. People made meals for their dead relatives. They set places for them at their table. They cooked things and buried things in the ground for their dead to take with them as they made their journey to the other side. This helped them as well as they thought it helped their loved ones move on. And then in our field, we have Jung with his archetype symbols and mythology, and Freud and Jung with their emphasis on dream work. So they were also kind of early creative artists within our field. Freud, as everybody knows, believed the unconscious expressed itself through dreams and fantasies. And both seemed to believe that images could provide information that simple speech and words could not, and that we could really get deep into something that was going on with a patient if we looked at what kind of images were coming up, because a lot of times these were, pre-verbal, pre-conscious things. And Jung was apparently a really great artist, and he recorded lots and lots of images from his dreams. I lost my pointer. So this is a dream image that I painted. So a basic way into this work with your patients is to pay attention to your dreams and those of your patients. Notice what images and symbols predominate in your dreams. And if you or your patient is already drawing, you can notice what kind of things you tend to doodle about. Spirals, stars, suns, fire, trees, dragons, and snakes. These things tell us something about where we or our patient are, or is, and what we or our patients might need right now for healing and balance. So it's always important to ask, what do you think that symbol or image means to you for your life right now? Why is it here now? What does it say to you? My personal favorite healing art image is a mandala, and that's anything that draws you into center. So these are things that are found in nature all around us, even like raindrops in a puddle, nautilus, but it's an image that symbolizes the journey to the center, or the journey to the core of your being, which would ultimately mean oneness or union with God. They're very peace-bringing images that are soothing, and Tibetan and Hindu and many ancient cultures have meditated on mandalas for years, and this is one I drew actually at my mind-body skills training program.